Hello everybody. I want to talk a little bit about how you can help a young, uneducated horse or a horse that hasn't had a lot of proper education to become a little bit more obedient and open to the leg aids, and especially when he or she, like Spidey, have learned to be a little bit protective and to push back into the pressure of the lower legs at times, maybe because they haven't been asked in an understandable way, or maybe they were pushed a little bit too hard too early. It could be all kinds of reasons, or they might just be also in terms of temperament. Horses that are either a little bit on the energy saving side, or very low, laid back, and not necessarily naturally ambitious forward horses. So I'm going to just show you how I start out with Spidey. Every once in a while, I'll just go into, nice long rein walk. Sometimes I lunge him a little bit so that he's a little bit more warmed up already. He has a big body, needs a lot of movement so that all the nerve endings and all the muscles can be sort of appropriately oxygenated and warmed up. And so you can see when I take up the reins here already, there's a little bit of anticipation on his end, right? And I'm trying to be super friendly with my legs. I'm not going to say, here, go forward, forward, forward. I'm just going to say, and I'm not even going to say, here, you have to be in a certain frame. I'm just going to say, relaxed and rhythmic walk. And as we're moving around here on these little circles and half circles, I'm going to just set myself up here on just a little bit of a rectangle that you can see with these cones that I've set up. It doesn't really have to be any specific shape. But I'm just going to go onto these large sort of serpentine patterns here, where I have a few steps of a straight line, and then I'm going to go a few steps on a curved line. And I'm just going to see how that goes with him. Sometimes you can feel when a horse goes onto a curved line. This is about, I want to say, as if I'm riding around half a 10-meter circle, that their hind end stops tracking up or falling in. And then, of course, you have to use a little bit of your legs. Inside leg a little bit more predominantly, outside leg a little bit more supporting, so that they're not falling out, trailing out, or swerving inwards. And so that is the first test. Can my horse accept my leg on a straight line where there's not really a lot of resistance right now happening on the curved lines? He has to put his feet a little bit more specifically in certain places, and he's actually really good today about this, and I'm encouraged by that, because it's not always like that. And so now I'm going to say to him, okay, so then if that's not so objectionable, then how about if I make you, push your haunches out intentionally a little bit? So I'm going to slow him down here a little bit and let him just swivel a little bit, little few steps around, almost like a quarter of a turn on the forehand. We're not going to be too specific here right now, just so that I'm going to say to him here, keep moving, just your hind legs. Come on. Friendly. And then you can see it already in his expression and in that sort of little bit slower movement that I get from him, that this is not something that he knows very well yet. We just started with this. There you go. And eventually I want this to be more like this, like what you can see right now, where it's a little bit more of almost like a Legyield on a little bit of a tiny, small circular shape. So the front end is approximately on a few steps on a half 10-meter circle like this. And, of course, there's a little bit of a question and answer game here still happening, but he's doing it actually pretty nicely, right? So I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to do it maybe just a couple more times, just for good measure. Little bit of increasing of the knee pressure when I slow him down, so that he can actually make these little bit of crossing over steps with his hind leg. And then I go forward again, very, very friendly with my legs. Friendly meaning not a lot of pressure, squeezing, kvetching, never really. So here we go again, a little bit of the sideways here, little swivel. Yeah, and you can tell, you can help him a little bit, and I'm just going to say to him, great, that was awesome. That is really the beginning of him to say yes to my leg and not no or maybe. Right? And so with this small little segment, I want to invite you just to pay attention to, your horse's whole demeanor when you put your legs on and when you use vibrational impulses and stimuli for them, Sometimes the ears turn back, and that means the horse is paying attention and it's a friendly tuning in with you and what you're doing. And sometimes you see the tension in the ears that becomes almost like a pinning back, right? Where you feel, oh, he's not liking that. It's a little bit too much. Then you can either back off or take your legs off altogether and just let him breathe again. It's not always every single time that you have to say, okay, we won't go there when the ears start to become a little bit, tense. But you can measure it and you can pick your battles and you can say, okay, I'm going to ask you once, I'm going to try it a second time and maybe in a little bit different mode. And then if by the third time you feel like it's starting to become a little bit more of an attitude thing rather than a understanding or misunderstanding kind of situation, then, you use a tiny little bit of a different tone. And you can use clucking, you can use your voice, you can do a little bit more vibrational input, or you can use a whip as a guidance tool. And that, of course, always presupposes that your horse is used to the whip already and not afraid. We'll never use it as a punishing instrument, right? So that's just one little blurb, one little idea for you guys, and hope this was helpful. And thanks for watching, and happy riding. And thank you, Spidey.